Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. If you're new here, I'm Elton, a 50-something year old undertaking a long-term photography project in my 1996 Heimer. So you can expect to see travel photography and video from historical sites that I visit, landscape and nature photography, wildlife and animal photography from around my travels, and also video tutorials, camera gear reviews, and hints and tips of van life and long-term travel. So please do join me and hit that subscribe button.
Hey everyone, it's me, Elton. I realize it's been about 2 months since I last posted again. I'm really not doing well at this video stuff, am I? But I thought as we approaching Christmas, I would just do a quick video just to bring you up to speed, excuse me, on the last couple of months, and to also wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas if you do celebrate it. I know for some people it's a very joyous time of the year, and for others maybe not so much. For myself, I'll be spending another successful. This will be my second year now, consecutive year, on Mies on Christmas Day, which is not great. Historically, for me, Christmas has been about family rather than the religious element of it. I'm not particularly into that aspect. But, you know, there are people out there who enjoy Christmas, love Christmas, get to spend time with their family. So I do hope that if you do celebrate it, that you have a wonderful time. So one thing to mention, I suppose, first off the bat, is since the last time I posted and updated you people on my life on the road, the Springboks went and won the World Cup again. And, first team to do that four times. The last time I looked, which is recently, which is about 5-6 weeks after the fact, some of the New Zealand fans are still having a hard time accepting it. But, you know, guys, come on, get over it. It's done. If it was the other way around, I'm sure South Africans would have moaned and had a go for a while. But, you know, it's a game at the end of the day. Yes, I know for South Africans and for New Zealanders, rugby is not just a game. It's a way of life. But it's done, and we'll meet you again in 4 years' time, and you can try and have your revenge on us. But yeah, I thought I'd just better make sure that the world and those people who are kind enough to follow my journey are very fully aware that the Springboks are once again rugby world champions. So that's now out the way. Other things that have happened in the space of time, primarily my time has been spent pet sitting. So I spent some time in North Norfolk. I then went up to Lancashire, where I spent about 10 days looking after 2 Dobermans and 3 cats. The Dobermans were lovely. It's been a while since I've had big dogs to look after. Generally, the dogs I'm looking after are kind of Staffordshire size, smaller type dogs, up to about Labrador sized dogs. The one Doberman in particular was humongous, biggest Doberman I've ever seen personally. So yeah, it was nice to kind of spend some time with these big dogs. Very affectionate Dobermans, wouldn't leave me alone. Became my shadows while I was there, which was lovely. The location was great. It was essentially a farm estate. Lovely house, very modernized. Although the building itself dates back several hundred years, internally it was heavily modernized. Very remote, which I love. I did take some videos, so I might pop something somewhere in the side of me here. Excuse me, my tripod is kind of falling all over the shop. So primarily my time has been spent traveling around, pet sitting. From Lancashire, I went down to the Cotswolds and did a sit there for a friend of mine, fellow South African, for a collie and a not quite sure cross. We're not quite sure. It does seem to have a bit of beagle in it, but as a rescue, they're not entirely sure what its genetics are. but there definitely seems to be a bit of beagle in there somewhere. Um, and there was 2 cats again. Very rural area. Literally, the closest town I think it was about 4 or 5 miles away, near a shop, which for many is not ideal, but for me, absolutely bliss. I love that rural life really, and if I could blinking afford it, I would certainly buy myself something rural like that. One thing I've learned traveling, because as some of you may know, it is my intention to buy a house somewhere, or maybe some land, if I ever just want to get off the road or just have somewhere to escape to for a while. But the longer I'm traveling, the less certain I am. Initially, my thoughts were to buy something in Wales, but the more Wales, I still love Wales. The more I'm traveling, the less sure of where it is I actually want to settle down and what I want to settle down in. Do I want to buy a house? Do I want to buy land? Anyway, but what I'm finding, and what's quite interesting, is that the more rural a property, the more expensive it is, which I kind of always thought was the other way around. I thought, if you're close to a train station, if you're close to, shops, schools, all this kind of thing, you generally paid more. And the more rural you were, and the further you had to travel for these things, the cheaper the houses tended to be. But I'm certainly not finding that in my experience traveling around the UK. Because whenever I'm in an area that I think, well, I like this, I can certainly see myself living here, I'll do a bit of research of the local prices and things like that. And yeah, as I say, the more rural a place, the more expensive it seems to be. One of the other interesting things that occurred to me since I last posted, is I had a leak. So my main skylight in the van started leaking. We had some severe weather, rain especially, about 7 weeks ago. Many of the motorways around the UK were closed. The one that I needed to use actually to get up to Lancashire from Norfolk, the A1 motorway, had several closures along the way due to flooding. There was also high-speed winds which were blowing trees over and things. So it was an interesting journey from Norfolk to Lancashire, shall we say. It was meant to be, I think originally it was meant to be 4 hours journey in the van, because I typically don't do more than 55 miles an hour, just to try and be as economical as possible fuel-wise. Turned out to be something like 6 hours in the end, because my sat-nav took me on a detour around the closures, and then that road or parts of that detour were closed, and then it had to reroute me again, and it was an absolute nightmare. But during that torrential rain is when I found my leak. Now, one thing I've realized, and I really do need to get into my head, is that when I have something like that, I don't think to turn the cameras on and record the whole process of sorting that issue out. So I have no video to show you at the moment of me taking the skylight out, taking the old seals off and putting new sealant on, and fixing the problem, which did take about a week and a half to do, because I had to obviously wait for a gap in the weather, which at that time, it literally rained for weeks on end, every single day. And, to take the skylight out, take the old seal off, put new sealant on, etc., I needed at least 5-6 hours of time. So I needed to find a day where it wasn't going to rain. Finally managed to get a day to do it, which was about 2 weeks after finding the leak. But at the moment, it's all good. What I have decided is, in the summer or spring, I'm going to redo it. I'm going to take skylight out again. I'm going to completely sand it down, get rid of all the dirt, etc. Take the sealant off that I've now put on, and reseal it properly. Because to be honest, although it's worked, the leak has stopped, it was a bit of a rush job because I was so concerned about the heavens opening again. So I am going to redo it in the spring, summertime, when I'm assured of a day or two of sunlight, or no rain at least. So at that point, I will make a point of recording it for anyone who needs to know in the future how to fix a skylight leak. One of the other things during this period since I last posted is I purchased my new trailer, motorcycle trailer. I will create a separate video for that trailer, and just for now I will say that it is far easier than the easy lifted trailer I had before. And I did post a video a while back about why I've made the decision to change trailers. It wasn't cheap, and it's a cost that I wasn't obviously budgeting for. But I believe it's an investment well made, because I'm not as anxious every time I need to move now with this new trailer. It's a far easier process loading the bike. It feels far more secure than the easy trailer. Once the bike is on the trailer, towing is much easier. I tend to not worry as much about the bike falling off or the trailer breaking or anything nonsense like that. It just makes traveling more enjoyable. So yeah, as I say, I will create a separate video on that trailer and just show you the process of loading and unloading, etc. Also new to me is I've bought a new drone. And again, I'll create a separate video for that. Again, another expense, quite a significant expense. But the reason I bought this drone is because it's a DJI Mini Pro 4, or DJI Mini 4 Pro, whatever. In the UK, because it's under 250 grams, the limitations are very few. So with the current drone that I have, for example, I can't fly within 50 meters of people, which makes it very limiting then if I want to say, get some aerial shots of a church or a castle or something that's in a urban area, where there are always people around, because I would always be in violation of that rule of being within 50 meters of someone. With the new drone, that restriction is not in place. So the only real restriction with the new drone is that I can't fly over crowds. So, for example, a concert, or where there's a dense population of people. So that opens up a lot of opportunity for me now to take more interesting video of places I go to where I'm not going to be constricted by, if there's someone nearby, I can't fly the drone. So I'm looking forward to. I've been flying it and doing some tests. I mean, I really do need to get my head around flying drones again. It's been a while. Where I am at the moment is quite rural, but for the past week, we've had winds in excess of 30, 40, even 50 miles an hour, which, because the drone is so light, is not ideal. I think, as far as DJI are concerned, I think it says 25 to 30 miles that it can deal with. So, yeah, when you're putting it up in 30, 40, 50 mile per hour winds, it's up. I just don't do it because I'm worried the bloody thing will get blown away and lost and whatever. But again, like I say, I will make a separate video on that, and just give you some insights into the drone and its capabilities, and show you some example videos that I've made. One of the sad things that's happened in this time is that one of the dogs that I got really close with, that I pet sat 3 times this year, in my last visit, in my last sit with him, I discovered a lump on my last day there, which I made the owner aware of when he returned, and subsequently the dog was taken for tests. Initially they just thought it was an infection of some sort, gave it antibiotics, etc. Long story short, sadly the dog had to be put to sleep because it was cancerous and the prognosis wasn't good. They could operate, but they still felt that it would just give the dog a few extra months rather than save its life. So sadly, the owner had to make the decision to put it down. which really is heartbreaking because the poor dog was only rescued in March of this year. And he was genuinely a lovely dog. It reminded me so much of Shaka at that kind of age, very energetic, very loving, very playful. So, I suppose it's one of those things when you do pet sitting, like any caring job, nurse, doctors, carers, you're going to lose some of the people or the animals you work with. So just one of those things I suppose I need to kind of get used to. But I've had, there has been a cat also that I've sat for before that's passed in the last few weeks or months. However, that cat was, I think, 17 or 18 years old, so it was kind of expected. When an animal's of that age, you kind of expect it's going to happen. But this poor dog was very young. I think, if I recall, he was only 2 or 3 years old. So a very young dog. And as I say, brought in, rescued by clearly the owner was very smitten with him, gave him the best food possible, really, took him out for 3 walks a day. He was in a very, very loving environment. So it's just a sad thing to happen to the poor boy. That kind of upset me a bit. The new drone I talked about. And then while I was up in Lancashire, Shaka started experiencing or showing signs of problems with his eyes. So basically, in the mornings, he would wake up with, quite a lot of gunk in the eye. So I took him about 4 days after I got some eye drops off Amazon and started giving that to him for 3 days. And then basically it got to the point where he wasn't able to open his eye in the morning. So I had to soak cotton wool in warm water and then soak it over his eye and kind of get rid of the gunk so he can open his eye. So I took him off to the nearest vet that could see him, and they diagnosed it as dry eye, which is quite a serious issue for dogs. Apparently it's not curable. So I got the medication, which were essentially 2 eye drops. One was to dry eye, if you don't know, is essentially the immune system attacks the tear glands, thinking for whatever reason it's a foreign body. And therefore, with the tear glands not being able to produce tears, the dog literally gets dry eye because there's no moisture on the eye. In severe cases, the eyes are actually removed. So it was a prognosis that I was obviously very concerned about. Got the medication, eye drops and things from the vet, which ridiculous amounts of money. Gave it to Shaka for about 4 weeks. Then returned to his own vet to see his own vet and get some more drops and things like that. By that stage, I'd actually run out of the eye drops. His vet said the diagnosis was correct, but also gave him a course of antibiotics just in case there was some other kind of infection happening in the eyes, and then gave me a prescription for more of this eye drops. These eye drops essentially are to stimulate what's left of the tear gland to start producing moisture again. And he did another moisture test of the eyes of Shaka. So when he first had his first moisture test, they put little strips in the eyelids basically, and typically it should be 15 and over moisture level in the eyes. His one eye, the one that was sealed shut in the mornings, that was coming in at 3, and the other eye was coming in at 8. When I took him back to his own vet about 4 weeks later, who did the same test, it was both eyes were coming in at over 20% moisture. So very obviously good news. As it happens, I haven't actually continued with the eye drops because his eyes seem fine. Touch wood for now. I do have the medication here, the eye drops, so I'm keeping a very close eye on his eyes. And if he starts showing any sign of it returning, then I will obviously start administering the eye drops again. I am a bit surprised because, as I say, from the research I did, dry eye is not supposed to be curable. So whether it was dry eye or whether we caught it early enough to kind of reverse the damage, I'm not sure. But obviously I'm pleased that he is not suffering at the moment anyway with it. So yeah, as I say, I'll keep a close eye on that. And then finally, well, maybe not finally, but Star, my motorhome, had her MOT earlier in the month, and I'm happy to report she flew through the MOT with one advisory, which is slight play on the front wheel, which has been on the last, I think it's 3 MOTs. So it's clearly not getting worse. It may just be the way the van is. I don't know, but it's been on the last 3 MOTs. Slight play, keep an eye on it type thing. So yeah, I mean, besides that, nothing else. And the mechanic actually said that the chassis is very, very clean for the age of the van. So yeah, I was really, really chuffed with that, because honestly, when I take it every year, I don't know how other van people out there feel about it, but every year when it's MOT time, it's a bit of a sweaty time, because the last thing you want is to be told there's a severe issue with it. It's going to take it off the road for a few weeks. So yeah, that was great news for me. What other news is there for me to tell you at this stage? So one of the things I've decided to do, because as I've mentioned in other videos, is whilst Shaka is with me, and he'll be 14 in January, because of his ailments, I'm reluctant to travel abroad with him. Hence why for the past 2 and a bit years we've just been in the UK. So what I've decided, because of that constraint, because I can't really go abroad, etc. at this point, I'm going to work on a campsite again in the summer of 2024. I've been offered a position on a campsite in the New Forest in Hampshire, which I spent time in the New Forest on my first winter as a van lifer. I'll link again up here somewhere to that particular video. I love the New Forest. It's home. It is a forest. Obviously, there are ponies all over the place, deer all over the place, and it's just a idyllic setting. So I'm really chuffed with that. Again, not ideal to be tied to one place for 7 months, but with these recent expenses, the trailer, the drone, etc., I just want to earn steady income to get that deficit that now exists in my bank account back to equal footing, because I'm the type of person that will not rest easy until I know that the money I put aside to purchase a house or land or whatever it is there. I've gone into that because of the expenses, so I just want to get that back to where it should be, so that I can then chill out mentally. In that time, I obviously plan to continue pushing my website design and search engine optimization, consultancy services, etc. I'm also going to try and get some photography clients, because I'm going to be in one area for 7 months. I can try and push out my photography services to the local area for my days off and maybe evenings and that kind of stuff. It'll also give me time to focus on a few other ideas I have for other income streams, which when I'm on the move, when I'm caring for dogs, etc., isn't really feasible just to sit down and work on that. Excuse me. So that time, although not ideal, will hopefully set me right for the future. The website design stuff is not doing badly. It's ticking over, but I need to get to a place where it's a little bit more consistent. If I can get one website client a month, literally that will do me. At the moment, it's probably one every 2 months, one every 6 weeks type situation. So it's not bad in what is a very competitive world. I'm not unhappy about the progress. I've got to be realistic that it is a competitive world. And much like photography, where a lot of people think they can build their own website because the likes of Wix and Squarespace and GoDaddy, etc., make it easy. But if you don't know anything about search engine optimization, then the website that you designed is pretty much useless. So, that's where I'm trying to market myself in that space of, if you want a good website, you need to know about SEO. So that, and again, I just think for next year, while I've got Sharka and I am kind of limited to the UK, I might as well work, get a regular income for those 7 months, focus on getting these other ideas that I've got in my head out, get them done, and hopefully at the end of that 7 months, I will be in a position where my website design stuff is more regular. I've got the clients to keep me going, where I can then travel with more freedom, knowing that I've got this kind of consistent and regular income coming in every month. Because I think I said in another video, I kind of worked it out. I need to earn Monday to Friday, so 22-day average month. I need to earn £50 a day, which will cover my campsite fees, because in the summertime my solar works and all that, and that's great, but my MacBook is power hungry. It really is power hungry, and obviously I'm taking photographs, I'm taking video all the time, so I need to be using my laptop every day for a few hours. It's not really feasible for me at the moment to be off-grid for a long period of time if I'm creating content. If I'm just going to go and spend a couple of weeks up in the Highlands of Scotland, for example, and not worry about that kind of stuff, then the solar will work just fine. But it is a bit of a struggle. Obviously having to charge up drone batteries and camera batteries, and it kind of takes its toll on the solar. But anyway, I'm just rambling now. So that's the update for now. I'm hoping, and I'm not going to promise anything, but I'm hoping this new drone is going to open up opportunities for me to take more regular video, get out. It's certainly motivating me to get out more and to go and see things, because I do like a bit of aerial photography and video. I just wish this wind will do one, because I would like to get out. I've been kind of not going out the last week because of this wind and the fact that I know that I can't use a drone. And also it's been raining, so I don't typically risk my camera gear to the elements of rain, just because I don't have money to replace it if it all goes pear-shaped. So I'm going to stop rambling now, folks, and all that's left for me to do again is just to wish you all a very merry festive season, and I hope that 2024 is a successful one for you, however you measure success, and that I'll see you over in the new year. And as always, be happy, be kind, and be safe. Cheers.